IATSE reached a tentative agreement with AMPTP, and we received this fact sheet with all the key elements of the contract. So I'm going to go ahead and list them out here for you because I know some people like to receive this in video form, so I'm just going to go over everything that they had sent us. This isn't the actual contractual language. We haven't received the actual contract, but the concepts that are going to be in that. One of the first things is the terms and the wages. For the first year of the agreement, we have a 7% wage increase. For the second year, it's 4%, and the third year, it's going to be 3.5%. One key point I think that a lot of people are going to appreciate is the changes to overtime and travel. It's going to be triple time after the first 15 hours on the first 5 days of the work week. On the 6th day, it's going to be 4.5 hours after the 15th hour, and then on the 7th day, it's going to be times 6 after the 15th hour. And pension and health contributions are going to be included for travel days. It's based on the employee's actual travel time with a minimum of 4 hours and a maximum of 8 hours. This is for the basic VTA and Publicists agreement. Transportation allowance will now be paid when required to report to a location in the secondary zone. If you're curious how the pension is being funded and the health plans, here are some of the things that are included in the contract. The producers are going to contribute an additional $1.09 per hour to the active health plan in year 1 of the agreement. Producers who pay the basic rate will contribute an additional 30 cents per hour in year 1 and an additional 45 cents per hour in years 2 and 3. For producers who don't contribute $15 million in residuals during the term of the agreement, excluding shops, facilities, and select entities, they shall contribute an additional 56 per hour in year 1, an additional 86 per hour in years 2 and 3. There's a new primary market residual to fund the MPI health and pension plan. It's a primary market residual for high budget subscription video on demand dramatic streaming productions. There's also a secondary market residual, so if the HBS VOD program airs on advertiser supported video on demand, free to the consumer on advertiser supported TV, which they are calling FAST, free TV or basic cable beyond the initial 90-day period, then the producer has to also pay a percentage of the gross receipts derived from the distribution of the product. There's also a performance metric bonus residual, which means the producer should pay 100% of the primary market residual to the MPI pension plan if a high budget subscription video on demand program achieves a certain threshold of views on the SVOD platform. In regards to our benefits, there are some improvements. Pre-2009 retirees will receive 13th and 14th checks, one-time payment equivalent of the value of one additional monthly check to those retirees who retired prior to January 1st, 2025, who were employed under the basic agreement or the videotape agreement. The pension plan accrual rate increased to 15% under specific terms. For the first time, regularly scheduled employees shall be provided 3 days of paid bereavement leave for the death of a family member. The employee shouldn't be replaced due to accessing this bereavement leave, although an episode of the production may be completed for continuity before the employee is brought back for the job. So for 2023, a qualified year of vacation accrual will be triggered within the 40 days of work within that year. It's reduced from the 100 days of work. No participant shall incur a break in service for pension plan year 2023. All participants with 65 or more hours in 2023 shall be credited with a vested pension year. There's also more sick leave days. There's an increase of a maximum of 80 hours or 10 sick days. There's also an increased sick leave bank to 40 hours or 5 days of sick leave per year. The access to accrued sick leave is faster. They lowered the eligibility threshold for sick leave from 90 days to 45 days. This is also effective on January 1st, 2025. The dental plan maximum benefit increased to $2,500. Severance pay for those with 12 or more qualified years will receive an additional 25% of the applicable severance pay. The definition of a qualified year in reference to severance pay has been eased, so an employee only needs to have worked 94 days in 2023, so it's 2023 specifically. It's also easier to qualify for severance pay. The qualified year will be triggered after 170 days of work, which is a reduction from the current 200 days of work required. The union and AMPTP also agreed to recommend the trustees of the MPI pension and health plans that a 401k plan to be created, which will be funded from voluntary contributions from employees. There's no increase to health care coverage costs or prescription payments and no cuts to health benefits. There's a couple of changes for holidays. Now we have Juneteenth that is going to be recognized in the union contracts. Unworked holiday percentage increases from 4% to 4.583. Basic cable programs, unworked holiday and vacation pay has also been improved. 50% will be paid in season 2 and 100% in season 3 as paid for network series. Network pay TV and streaming miniseries, unworked holiday pay will increase by 50%. So here's a big one, safety improvements in the contracts. A safety officer pilot program is going to be created in New York and Georgia. A dedicated qualified safety officer who shall create a risk assessment for the production should be present on the set of one feature-length dramatic production per major studio. It's listed here that there should be better courtesy housing or round-trip ride provisions, and they break it down to say that there needs to be clear communication with crew required by the designated producer that's on the call sheet. The producer has to reserve a room for the length of the turnaround or until call time, whichever is earlier. Producers should pay the full amount for the ride or room up front, and the producer will provide secure parking for employees' vehicles while they're gone. There's also some changes to the rest period penalty, which is also known as turnaround or forced call. A minimum of 1/2 hour of double time should be paid for the initial invasion of the daily or the weekend rest period, and after that, the double time invasion is going to be paid on tenths. Okay, almost to the end. Kinda. There also have been some improvements in the videotape agreement. So a new series and seasons of 1/2 hour single camera primetime dramatic television shall receive working conditions, wages, and hours per the basic agreement. Streaming non-dramatic shows will now receive working conditions, wages, and hours per the videotape agreement. Before everything was negotiated. Increased rates for the new series or seasons of many reality shows by an additional 3% in year 1, an additional 3% in year 2, and move to the full 15A wage schedule in year 3. There's also new contract language that a producer will take steps to ensure that the camera operator can move safely, including, if necessary, utilizing a spotter when executing a tracking shot while supporting a weighted load. This is also a hot topic on how artificial intelligence or AI is going to be affecting our industry. It says that there's clear definitions of AI technology, and if AI tools are assigned to an employee, that shall be covered work. There also is going to be a committee formed to develop work training program. Employees are not required to provide prompts in any manner that results in the displacement of any covered employee. An employee may request a consultation with the producer regarding the use of AI systems, and a producer can reject the use of AI systems in an employee's work. If an employee uses an AI system, the employee should negotiate a kit fee. There's also going to be quarterly meetings with individual companies and biannual joint industry-wide meetings when requested by the union. The employer will indemnify employees from the liability due to the use of AI and clear and conspicuous consent to scanning, which cannot be a condition of employment. So I wouldn't like to be scanned. There's changes and improvements to diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a new non-discrimination language that provides a stronger protection for a broader group of people, and there's an elimination of gender-specific pronouns in the contract language. Side letter changes and improvements. All wages, terms, and conditions is going to be moved to the body of agreement, so it's easier to find your rate, terms, and conditions. There's also streaming improvements. Advertise-based video on demand and free ad-supported television now have the same wages, terms, and conditions as subscription video before they were negotiated. All high-budget SVOD, AVOD, and FAST productions will be treated comparable to network television productions. The long-form movie of the week rates have been increased up to 21% depending on the project and classification. Network, pay TV, and streaming miniseries have been increased to 30% depending on the project and classification. Before, it was based on MOW rates. Double time will begin after 12 except where better conditions apply, which replacing double time with after 14 hours of elapsed time for certain pilots, basic cable season on miniseries, network and pay long-form productions, and mid and low budget streaming projects. So for the Local 600 agreement specifically, the director of photography should be paid wages and benefits when asked by the producer to provide services as a consultant to the timer. The producer shouldn't require the director of photography to operate the camera as a condition of the employment. If the producer temporarily upgrades the employee for 2 hours or more in a classification that is higher than what they were hired for, then the higher rate shall prevail for the entire workday. Operators are now going to be treated the same as all local 600 classifications, and they can negotiate their rates. Overtime provisions will apply to a 6th workday on a distant location. Also, Rhode Island has been added to the Northwest Corridor under the amendment agreement. So for Publicists specifically, when required by a producer, on-call classifications are now paid double time for work on a 7th day in a work week. Unit publicists should be guaranteed 2 weeks of employment after the completion of principal photography to complete their work. Unit publicists employed directly by a signatory producer will now receive pension and health benefits when they're asked to work or travel from any of the 10 additional states, and this brings the total to covered states to 20. A couple of other additional provisions that they didn't really categorize anywhere else. For those of you who have been doing training with contract services, the hourly pay is going to be increased from $20 to $25 an hour. A bulletin will be distributed encouraging productions to utilize the applicable local for a resource on qualified job applicants for non-rostered classifications. Bulletin will also be distributed to productions regarding appropriate heating and cooling options when possible for on and off production locations. An industry bulletin will be distributed reminding productions that grace shouldn't be scheduled or automatic, and it's not intended for everyday use. There's expanded expedited arbitration provisions. The producer will be required to notify the union in advance if it intends to subcontract any work under this agreement. Concessions that were agreed to were producer paid contributions to CSATF approved by the union. And under the videotape agreement, when one camera is used on a non-studio or reality pickup on a non-dramatic program, the director of photography may operate when requested to do so, with the understanding that it's not a condition of employment, and notifies the union for that request. Aligning with other unions and guilds, streaming episodes can exceed their contractual length by up to 3 minutes without being considered to have to exceed their program length agreed to by the tri-guilds. A few key takeaways from this that most people are interested is the wage increases. Overtime is now triple time after 15 and 4.5 for the 6th day and 6x for the 7th day. There are some improved benefits for people. There's also some safety improvements that are being taken into consideration, some language for AI in our contracts, and there definitely is more improvements on the streaming aspect. Those are the broad strokes of what the 2024 tentative agreement has. This is based on the fact sheet that they provided us, and when the contract comes out, I'll make sure to update this video and provide the link to the actual contract so you can read that with the actual contractual language. If you have any thoughts about the agreement, just leave a comment below. I hope this video was helpful and provided you information that you were looking for, and wishing everyone lots of work in the future.